All right, so I chose Appendix 5 Strategies for Dealing with Must Be Right CPs. It starts out with a parent coming in and approaching the secretary's counter and saying, I want to see the AD now, and I don't want any excuses, I mean now. The AD in the back sees what's going on and says, he's on the phone, he says, let me call you back. He walks out and says, good morning, Mr. Jones, how may I help you? Mr. Jones is obviously furious, says, I want some answers now, I want any excuses or cover ups. The AD says, Mr. Jones, please come in to my office. And once they sit down, the AD says, you've indicated you wanted some information. Mr. Jones says, you're bleeping right, I do. You would too if you were me. The AD says, I can see that something is clearly bothering you. And the parent angrily and sarcastically says, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. Yeah, I'm furious. Anybody would be if they got treated the way my kid got treated. The AD says, your irritation is really apparent. Can we discuss the cause or causes of your furiation? The parent, it's that bleeping Coach Johnson. He's not fair. The AD says, you say Coach Johnson isn't fair? Mr. Jones, yeah, Bobby hasn't missed a practice. He does his schoolwork. He never cuts class. He's been on the squad for 4 seasons and he never gets to play. The AD says, let me be sure of what I've just heard you say. Bobby's a good student and a good squad member, but doesn't get to play as much as you would like for him to play. The parent, yeah. I asked him what he did at practice. He says he played scout team. Asked him if the coach said anything to him, and he says no. The AD says, tell me what you know about Bobby's skills as related to his teammates. Maybe we can figure out, why he is or isn't playing. Well, he was a regular when he played middle school ball, and I sent him to summer camps every year since. The AD says, so he was a regular in 8th grade, but he isn't playing now as a senior. The parent says, yeah, that stupid coach isn't fair, and he can't recognize talent. AD says, what would you like to see happen in this situation? The parent says, play him, or at least talk to him about it. Tell him what he needs to do to get better and play more. AD says, have you or Bobby talked to the coach? The parent says, well, what do you pay him for? Doesn't he need to talk to the kids? Well, AD says, we want our coaches to be available to discuss concerns and issues with players and parents. Parent, Mr. Jones says, yeah, right, that guy isn't approachable at all. The AD says, if I understand correctly, there hasn't been any communication whatsoever. Mr. Jones says, that coach doesn't talk to anyone. AD says, what if I ask the coach to meet with you, Bobby, and myself? Mr. Jones states, what good would that do? AD says I could ask coach to bring along his charts and player stats so we can see how he compares to the other kids on the team. The parent says he is a senior. Doesn't that mean something? The AD says we appreciate his loyalty and hard work, and I'm sure coach appreciates the role Bobby plays on the team. Mr. Jones says, yeah, right, then play him. AD said, I really would be happy to facilitate the communications you said is missing. Question number 1 asks, what is the root of the problem? In my opinion, the root of the problem is communication between the player and the coach. The meeting between the parent and the AD about playing time should not be allowed to occur until a player and coach meeting has taken place. Now, if the meeting is about an issue that's more pressing than playing time, then it would obviously be more acceptable to have. Questions 2, 3, and 4 ask, what else could be done? Is there a system problem that needs to be addressed? What remedy would you suggest? I'm going to combine all 3 of these questions by explaining the process that I believe needs to happen in order to prevent the situation from presenting itself. First things first, the coach needs to have a preseason meeting with the parents and kids in attendance. At this preseason meeting, the coach will introduce his or herself and highlight their expectations for the upcoming season. The coach will then explain the rules and requirements when it comes to playing time. The coach will explain that if a concern over playing time ever comes up, the players will be encouraged to first approach the coach. The coach will then give the players suggestions as to how they could possibly earn more playing time in the future. I think this process alone will prevent many uncomfortable conversations between the parents and the coach or AD. Another suggestion that I believe could prevent this is to allow parents to attend practice as long as that is okay with the school. This will give the parents a chance to see what is going on behind the scenes. It could help them to see why their kid may not be playing, as maybe they don't have as much skill as other players. What alternatives would I suggest? If the player and coach have a meeting and the player still isn't satisfied with their situation, Then the parent may meet with the AD as long as they can do it calmly and respectfully. During this meeting, the parent and child should both be present, as well as the coach and the athletic director. In conclusion, playing time is a discussion that should almost never be brought up. Coaches don't get into coaching because they want to lose games by playing lesser talented kids. Coaches want to win. They usually want to win by playing as many kids as possible, as long as they can still come out there and win at the end.